I'm John Cameron from Indiana University Libraries, and I'm going to give the Avalon update. So Avalon Media System is a Samvera solution bundle. It's a platform for audio and video streaming designed for libraries and archives. It has some specific features like access control and easy transcoding that sort of make it more manageable for AV. It's a very AV-focused repository software. Um, and yeah, we have a big community. So besides Indiana University, other institutions use Avalon in production. We have a list on our website. We're currently working with Michigan State as well to get an instance up and running for them. We have a monthly user roundtable meeting and then a public Slack channel as well that we invite anyone who's as a user has questions to come in and talk to us. So the biggest news in Avalon is release 8.0, which came out in December. The big bullet points here are Fedora 6. So Avalon 8 has moved from Fedora 4 to Fedora 6, so there's a big migration involved. We also upgraded Rails and Ruby along with that. And there's also a bunch of new features. We added the ability for SharePoint to be used in Browse Everything as a source, so you can pull in files from SharePoint or OneDrive directly into your Avalon instance. We added the ability to stream MP3 files directly. So progressive download. So for example, if you're coming to Avalon with a lot of MP3 files existing already and you don't want to transcode them, you can do that now. And then we removed date as a required field in descriptive metadata, made some other small changes like adding indexing for the subject field, which will now take you out to a faceted blacklight catalog view if you have that in your metadata. We also made updates to RAMP, which is our IIIF media component library. So this is all of the media components on the page in Avalon read from a IIIF manifest, which populates in all these components. So we made a lot of small changes, and RAMP 3.3 is the version that is pinned to Avalon 8. We also made a lot of performance improvements. So as we were working on things like adding transcript searching and other things, we've updated a lot of the Solr queries that Avalon uses, which has resulted in a lot of performance improvements in terms of user experience and page loads. And in most recent patch release, we also did further Solr changes. So we've seen some really big speed improvements that looking forward to handing over to users. Yeah, so as I mentioned, this is our most recent release that we just did. So I'm not going to go into all these. It's mostly bug fixes and those performance improvements. So yeah, so what's next coming up? Avalon 8.1 is targeted for summer 2025. There's a new version of RAMP, which also includes a new component for annotations that might be in IIIF manifests. And then more dependency upgrades for us in terms of Blacklight, Bootstrap, and then Wowza streaming engine. So we use Wowza in production and support it in Avalon. It's been pinned to another version of Wowza for a while. So we're going to go ahead and update that. Yeah, so this annotations component comes out of sort of grant-based work we've done with the AV Annotate project. So if annotations are available in a IIIF manifest, RAMP, the component library, now has the ability to load up those annotations and let users go through and navigate through them with that extra annotated information, sort of like a kind of an enhanced transcriptor index. And so you design this UI where you can select from the different sets that might be available in there, and then navigate kind of like you would through Avalon's existing transcript functionality. And then in Avalon 8.2 and beyond, we have in mind a lot of things for accessibility. So accessibility updates to the application in terms of WCAG compliance, but also support for audio description and other very AV related things that we want to be able to support if you have the means. And right now we don't support things like extra audio tracks for audio description. And so those are things we're looking to add, as well as permissions models changes and IIIF 2.0. Yeah, so again, we would love for you to get in touch with us. We have our website, which is now a Samvera template, avalon.samvera.org or avalonmediasystem.org. We have a demo website, mailing list, Samvera Slack. We're very available. All right, thank you.
Thanks, John. Any questions for John before we hand things over to Nick? Looks like John, a question from Thomas in the chat.
Question. I'm pretty sure they're in mainline browse everything, but we might be on a fork. That's a good question. I'll check in with Chris and put it in the chat here.
Great. All right, Nick, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Nick Holmenda. I am Hyrax product owner, and I'll be talking about Hyrax today along with Randall Floyd and Daniel Pierce, tech leads for Hyrax this year, who will jump in to add more technical details. For those who don't know, Hyrax, Samvera-powered repository platform suitable for many repository use cases. And we're going to talk about the accomplishments we've had since the last time we provided an update at the Samvera meeting in November of 2024. The big news is that we released Hyrax 5.1 now 2 weeks ago. And it's a big deal. It's a culmination of a lot of work across members of the Hyrax maintenance working group, focus sprints over several years, contributions from partner institutions, as well as Notch 8 and others to make Hyrax work with Fedora 6 and also have the same other persistence adapters that Hyrax had. This also has dependency updates to the stack, and we tested this locally as well as on Nurax. And so now there is a Fedora 6 Nurax available, and the URLs are available here. If you want admin access to any of these Nuraxes to test out how they work on the dashboard side, please get in contact with me. We're also planning to do more detailed testing, particularly around performance on the new Fedora 6 Nurax instance. And we've been working with folks from the Hyrax Fedora 6 working group to do that. I'm going to hand it over to Randall now to add a little more detail from the technical side of what we're doing.
Thanks, Nick. Actually, if it's okay, I think what I would like to do is not maybe so much more technical in depth, but I wanted to have Nick pause on this slide for a moment so that I could try to appeal to developers and developer managers with a bit of good news. Now, obviously, if you look at these top accomplishments on this slide, those are obviously very good news. Huge milestones, and I think that their value is kind of self-evident. They've been talked about a lot, especially what we've come to know as the Valkyrization of Hyrax. But on the flip side of that, that has been a long, hard, heavy lift, a slog indeed. It has proven to be as intimidating as it sounds. The problem with that is it makes it difficult for developers who want to contribute to figure out how to plug into something like that. And I think maybe even more importantly, it makes it difficult to relate back to your own home organization what you're getting from that, how that translates directly to goals and user facing stories in your own backlog. And so the good news I want to share on that is that we are indeed through that heavy lift and that heavy slog. So what we would like instead, when where we feel that we're at, is we want to start to steer the effort back away from these deep, deep technical back-end heavy lifts to feature development, to development of the product roadmap. And so what we want developers, if they want to come contribute, what we want them to be able to go back and report instead of this kind of like a long, inching along on a long path towards a big goal that is in the end more architectural and strategic. In that sense, though hugely important, we want developers to be able to go back and say things like, those features that have been in our backlog for a long time that we learned that everybody else wants to, we worked on those, we finished those. Or this stuff that we had to do for ourselves because it wasn't in Hyrax, they helped us vet that and figure out how to get it into Hyrax proper for everybody's benefit. So I think the short version of what I'm trying to sell here is that we want developers to be able to come back to the table and know that we're out of this hard, heavy slog and that we can start to work on features that everybody has agreed is important. And indeed, that roadmap is being fleshed out currently. Now, there are always going to be the things like the big dependency upgrades like the Rails 2 and stuff like that. In fact, we're looking at Rails 8, and the longer we wait to get into that, the harder that will be. But those of us who represent kind of the core of the technical leadership and the core Hyrax maintenance group, we can focus on those things if there are also developers that represent the features that everybody wants. So long story short on that is developers trying to invite you back to the table, and we'll see if we can actually start getting back onto the development of features in the product roadmap. And I could speak to anything more technical if anybody would like me to, but with that, I'll just give it back to Nick for the moment.
Thanks very much, Randall. So this is an example of a community sprint that we had last year. And I think we may have talked about this a few times since, but this shows like the level of involvement that we've had from a number of people in the Hyrax maintenance working group, as well as developers, QA testers, and others from around the community, working together for 2 weeks to complete development work on a bunch of issues and bring us up to WCAG 2.0. We're actually close to 2.1, and that's something we'll do in the coming year to try and accomplish that before the deadlines that we're all aware of. And we hope to do more community sprints in the future. There's one coming up in May, as well as others periodically throughout the coming year. So our next steps. We mentioned this in the announcement of 5.1 for the Hyrax release, that we want to do real world testing, real world collection work with the migration adapters for Fedora 6. So it's pretty much ready in there to work with, and we've worked with this in small constrained test scenarios, but for institutions, similar to what Emery just reported on, who are looking to make that leap into Fedora 6, this is the opportunity. And we'll be talking about this over the course of the next few months to be sure that we have a viable migration pathway into Fedora 6. I mentioned before, doing accessibility work in a similar accessibility sprint to be sure that the remaining issues that we have to go up to 2.1 are identified, because it's sort of a moving target with every improvement that we make, as well as trying to align with work in the accessibility working group. You'll hear about them later as well. There's work happening in the community around Core Notify from Cottage Labs and Antleaf that we hope to align with into Hyrax as a feature, as well as incorporating bulk racks and flexible metadata into the dependencies. So, or into the stuff that comes with Hyrax as an option, since a lot of folks want those gems as well. We'll be doing some dependency upgrades as well as IIIF improvements, as well as other stuff that we've identified in our development roadmap that we're going to be reaching out to Samvera working groups in the coming weeks to share those drafts and solidify over the next few weeks. I'll offer a few brief words about what it's like working on the Hyrax maintenance working group. We support the core maintenance and development for Hyrax and handle any bugs or issues that come up in between the bigger community sprints that we do, as well as review PRs that people submit when they're doing development within the community. We work every 2 weeks, and we have now just but one Slack channel, hashtag Hyrax, in Slack. So you can find updates about when we're meeting and the connection information there, as well as our project boards. Our next cycle is starting on May 12th, and we meet every day at 1 p.m. Eastern. These are the folks that we've been working with most regularly, although others on this call also participate in the Hyrax maintenance working group. And if you are a developer or you want to get involved in QA testing, we'd love to have you. And then one final plug for the Hyrax interest group. This is where you can come to learn about Hyrax and learn about what we've been working on in all these sprints that we've talked about. We meet the second Wednesday of the month, and our next meeting is May 14th. Thank you. And I'll stop sharing.
Thank you to Nick and Randall and Daniel. I'll go ahead and hand it over to Nick Don, but if anyone has questions for the Hyrax team, feel free to put them in the chat.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Good. Just making sure I have my mics set up appropriately. So, Hyku update. I'll begin with some context updates to the Hyku work. Since the last time that we had a meeting together, we have broken out some of the roles related to Hyku. And so we now have, for the first time, a Hyku product owner. That's me, Nick Don Stanton Rourke, for those of you who have not met me. We have also hired a community developer. That's Tracy McCormick at West Virginia University, who I believe is also on this call. And then for now, Rob will be continuing as tech lead, although there are plans sometime this year to facilitate a handover of that role as well. The product owner and community developer roles initially began with funding from an IMLS grant. That grant has since been canceled. Although there is an appeals process ongoing, I would not put a lot of confidence on the likelihood of further funding for that, but those roles are both funded through the end of this year and possibly slightly into the next year. And the intent of the IMLS grant was always to transfer off of that grant funding into community funding. And so the cancellation of that grant will probably mean that that transition needs to be strategized a little earlier in the process. But should be minimally disruptive to the broader Hyku administration, right? One thing that has been a big update recently is the launching of public testing and demo sites for Hyku, similar to Nurax for Hyrax. And so we have our testing or staging site at hycustaging.org, a demo site that will be the most recent either release candidate or main version at hykudemo.org. And if anybody wants to get access to a tenant in either of those, just contact me. I am also in the process of setting up a Google form that can live on the Samvera site for people to just stumble upon, people who are not already part of the Samvera community to stumble upon and know that they can request this. And then that will facilitate me as product owner to be able to reach out to them, find out kind of what their use case is, and initiate that contact. But you know, part of the strength of Hyku is that its multi-tenancy makes it very easy to spin up a tenant and add admin users just within that tenant. So very excited to have these up and running. These are on the Samvera domain, but are hosted by Notch 8. So thank you to Notch 8 for doing the hosting on that. The most recent big news in Hyku world is the release of 6.1.0. It was in release candidate status for maybe about a month, but we released it as a main release yesterday. Some of the big news there is that bulk rack configuration is now located within Hyku itself. So you don't have to modify it within the gem. It's modified directly within Hyku, which means that even without any kind of developer intervention, an administrator can change the field mappings on a tenant by tenant basis just within the system settings page, which is very cool. There's also some technical updates to the version of Bulkrax bundled with Hyku that improves performance for Bulkrax import jobs. There is support for Google Analytics 4. I know that there's some complication with getting that set up, but it is configured to be able to handle Google Analytics 4 versioning. Also, a huge number of bug fixes and UI fixes. Last I counted, there were, I think, 120 separate bug fix tickets incorporated into the 6.1.0 release. So really big improvements in a lot of areas. Some big UI fixes. Sword API support from the Willow Sword Gem brought in. This support for configurable user and depositor notifications, just a lot of stuff in that. So check that out at the GitHub link there. And then next on the agenda is a Hyku 6.1.1 fix, bringing in a few primarily UI fixes that 6.1 introduces, and then one lingering bug that came in with, I believe it was 5.0 or 5.1 with the create batch of works that we want to see addressed before bringing in 6.2. Really, the only thing that 6.2 is slotted to contain, other than bug fixes, will be the flexible metadata work that is essentially ready to go. So we're expecting a very quick turnaround on getting 6.2 released. And in fact, I'll be bringing 6.2 into haiku-staging.org, into our staging instance, probably this week, but in the very near future, so that there will be a testable version, publicly accessible testable version of flexible metadata for the community to look at. So again, if you're interested in getting on Hyku staging or Hyku demo, get in touch with me. And with that, I'll open for any questions. I'm not sure there's anyone I need to hand it off to